And I could change the face of medicine right now if I could do just 3 labs, maybe twice a year, for like $100. If we were looking at those, then I could tell you your mitochondrial health. I could tell you your biological age. I could tell you your likelihood for getting almost all diseases. Almost all the diseases we thought were genetic or random or environmental, they're metabolic diseases.
Did you know that in the United States, the supplement, vitamin, peak performance, and nutrition industry is a $36.2 billion industry, and the caffeinated beverage business represents $202 billion? The question to ask yourself is, who's responsible for creating the ingredients that power the industry, and how do you even know they work or are safe? So today, you're going to meet the world's greatest formulator. His name is Shawn Wells, and he's a globally recognized ingredientologist who has been responsible for producing, inventing, and patenting more than 10 novel ingredients. And those have shifted over $2 billion worth of product for companies including GNC, the Vitamin Shoppe, Teacrine, Advocare, Compound Solutions, NNB Nutrition, BioTrust, and Dymatize. So what Shawn has done that makes him unique is he's devised a way of optimizing the human body. So if you'd like more energy, more concentration, to be a higher performing gamer, put on muscle growth faster, increase your immune system to become COVID proof, or whatever the next pandemic provides, you're going to love this interview. So Shawn's going to share his personal journey that got him into this business in the first place, and some of his most popular and powerful stacks, some of which aren't even commercially available yet, and how you can hack your nutrition safely and effectively. Now, you may have seen Shawn on the Joe Rogan podcast, Good Morning of America, The Today Show, NPR, or one of his 500 plus media appearances. Shawn, welcome. Thanks for being here, my friend.
Thank you for having me on.
All right. So I'm super excited about this. We've been talking and preparing for this, and I've got a whole bunch of questions for you, but I think the best way to start is give everyone a little bit of a framework of where you came from and some of the health challenges that got you into this business in the first place.
Yeah, I grew up in a military single income home and was overweight as a kid, junk food junkie, bullied, really had a tough childhood with people making fun of me. I had a large rear end. I was about, 230 pounds as a kid. And then I grew to even be about 300 pounds at one point. So I was obese. But I had disdain for my body dysmorphia, it's called. And I eventually became anorexic, going all the way the other direction, 150 pounds, still hating myself. And then there's another term called orthorexia, where you become obsessed with working out and the metrics and your food intake and all this kind of stuff that can seem healthy on the outside, but it's not. And that became me too, where I started working out like crazy, 4 hours a day, obsessed with, what I was taking in. Everything had to be protein. As soon as my workout was finished, I had to have protein or else I was going catabolic. And I was 220 pounds. I was muscular. I was ripped. I was taking all the supplements. And I had a great change in my body. And I finally got attention. I wasn't bullied and made fun of anymore. But I still was incredibly insecure, looking for love, looking for approval. But things were starting to shift for me. And I was starting to get that attention. And people were asking me how I did this. And that became a point of me being a guru. And I started coming up through message boards on various forums when those were popular.
Right.
And really getting some status. And I remember I was going to business school, doing very well in marketing. And this was at Babson College, top business specialty school. And so my plan was to finish up and go to like an Anderson Consulting or something like that. But I went to my doctor my sophomore year, and I was telling him about all these supplements that are amazing. And I expected a doctor to laugh about it and say these things are pointless. This was over 20 years ago. And instead, he did something incredible for me. And he told me, "Hey, Shawn, And he drew out this lifeline. I was 20 years old at the time, and he drew out to 80. Hopefully I live longer than that.
Yeah.
But he said, why not be happy between here and here? And that gave me permission that no one else gave me, because up until that point, I was doing what I was told to do, what was logical. I wasn't chasing my passion. Here, I had found nutrition and supplements. I didn't have the self-love yet, but nutrition and supplements gave me change, and it gave me authority, and it gave me passion. And I was spending, 4 hours in a GNC just looking at supplement bottles. And I was dreaming of, could I be a formulator? Because there's a couple guys in these muscle magazines that wore lab coats, and I saw that they were formulating products. And I was like, I want to do that. There's probably 100 people in the world that do that. So it was kind of a crazy dream, but it was my dream. But it was a pipe dream at the time. But this doctor gave me permission. And I decided right at that moment, I'm going to finish up business school. And I finished up magna cum laude. And then I'm going to go back to school, get all the prerequisites I need so I can get a master's in nutrition at my top school, Chapel Hill. And I'm going to make all this happen. And on the flip side of that, I went to UNCG. My parents were down in North Carolina, so I could go in state to eventually get into Chapel Hill to get my prereqs. This guidance counselor told me, you're a business student. You won't have the capacity to do 26 credit hours of sciences a semester. You're going to fail and fail miserably, and you're not even in that good a shape. And that night, I almost killed myself with pills and alcohol. This person took away my dream. So just like one person with seemingly random words that wasn't a guy, mentor, gave me my dream, another person could have taken it away and taken away my life. So I think about that a lot, of like the impact of our words that may seem even random at times, but they can be quite powerful and change someone's life path. And luckily, I did not kill myself that night. I ended up getting more resolve, and I didn't even have money to do this. I put it all on my credit card. I ended up spending about a year and a half and burned through all these classes, got straight A's, thought of that guy every day, and with very hateful thoughts, honestly.
Right.
But it kept me on my path. And I ended up getting in Chapel Hill. My dream school was on my way to getting a master's in nutrition, becoming a registered dietitian, exercise science classes, all that kind of stuff, and nutritional biochemistry. And interestingly, I got sick again because I was pushing so hard, and that love piece that I was seeking, I was smart, so I could go out 6 nights a week with my friends and get drunk. But I was also, pushing myself to try and stay lean, working out, trying to do all these classes under the stress, working. And I ended up getting very sick with autoimmune issues like Hashimoto's, chronic fatigue syndrome, fibromyalgia, Epstein-Barr virus. My body just shut down and said no more. And I couldn't get out of bed for about 6 months. I was in pain. I was inflamed. And again, I thought about killing myself because depression is something I've always battled. And again, it felt like my dream was getting taken away. And I wasn't sure if all of this had been for nothing, that I'm never going to be able to get out of bed or hold a job or help anyone. And luckily, I got online and stumbled into the ketogenic diet, read some books, got more serious about my supplementation and lab work. And I started finding my way out into the light, finished my degree. And then, I've had a lot of health issues because of how hard I push. And I even had a brain tumor 8 years ago. And it's really, I'm seeing now a lot of my hacks with supplements, with exercise, with diet, things I learned, they improved my health. They allowed me to persist, become successful, to work 80 hours a week, but I was still never happy or loving myself. And that's only happened recently.
Yeah, it's just getting to know you and look at your life. And I didn't know all the detail. Like, again, we've known each other now almost a year. And I've watched your own cycle, and you're definitely a guy who just pushes, 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 pushes.
Yeah.
And there's an old saying, I don't remember who told me first, it's about making your life a laboratory. And you definitely have made your life a laboratory, and your own way of overcoming your own obsessions or your conflicts, your internal strife has given you the ability to do what you do. So I'm going to switch gears a little bit and ask you more about, let's just start with the most popular ingredient you've ever created and what does it do? So in your search, in your history, let's talk about popular ingredients, how it was used. And we're going to go down this path because ultimately we're going to get to some of your stacks, because I know that's something that people are looking for. How do I get more out of X?
Yeah.
Let's start there.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff coming out that I can't talk about quite yet because they're in the patent process, they're in the R&D process, and that's a lot of intellectual property that
You're a big tease. You're a big tease. All right.
But some of the big ones that people know, Teacrine and Dynamine, are two ingredients, energy ingredients that besides caffeine are the most popular energy ingredients in the world. They're in about 500 products. They've got about 20 studies behind them. In ready-to-drink energy drinks, in pre-workouts, fat burners, things like that. But really, my first ingredient that I brought to market, and unfortunately, I did not get a dime from, but I was the first to put it in the supplement, was raspberry ketones. I don't know if you remember that supplement, but it went wild with Dr. Oz. And I had it out in a product about 5 years before that even happened. I was first to market with it. And I was really excited about that ingredient. And I didn't have any patents. I didn't have any royalties. I didn't have any licensing. I just helped the guy with the formulation, got a couple grand for it, and that's it. And I watched that product become the hottest thing ever. I mean, that and acai and, a handful of ingredients of Garcinia cambogia, a few of those fat loss ingredients have gone monster viral in a way that I don't know ingredients can ever go again with that Dr. Oz, and the internet was kind of growing, and it was just a phenomenon. They went viral. So that helped me learn to get involved with the intellectual property process and have a stake in it and ownership in it. And that's what I've been doing ever since.
Yeah, no, it's, I know in talking to you, you've got a lot of properties set up, and that seems like a huge lesson. So mark that as one lesson for anyone who wants to get in this business: learn intellectual property, learn patents, partner with a great attorney. But let's talk a little bit more about, what are you interested in right now? I know you can't talk specifics, but eventually we're going to get to some stacks. We're going to talk about those. But like, what is a trend that really fascinates you right now, lights you up, that you're focusing on, that you can talk about?
It's easy for me. Like it's still energy. So I've been keto for 20 years and that's worked for me. So looking at exogenous ketones is fascinating, things that boost ketones.
What are exogenous ketones for someone who doesn't know what that means?
So BHB, beta hydroxybutyrate, is the key ketone in your body that's elevated when you go on the ketogenic diet, or you do fasting, or you take supplements like these ketones or MCTs. They're boosted in your body and they can be used for energy, fuel, just like glucose is in your body. It's an alternate fuel source. So you can, and people can be insulin resistant, especially if you're overweight, where you're not using glucose as well as a fuel. You get into a state called insufficient cellular energy. And that's where I was. And then that leads to inflammation, glycation, and oxidation. Oxidation like rust, and we think about antioxidants. Glycation is blood sugar damage. And inflammation, we all know well, especially after like a day of heavy training or doing something like that. So I look at ingredients that can enhance cellular energy, that improve mitochondrial function, which is the cellular powerhouse, and reduce inflammation, glycation, and oxidation. So that's where I'm looking at longevity, because That's the key. Mitochondrial health is the key to really almost all disease and biological aging versus chronological aging. We can be older or younger than our age, than our chronological age. And mitochondrial health is at the center of that. And that's where energy comes from, is your mitochondria. So that's where I'm working, is that front. It's the most pivotal. And I think mito is the next keto. That's the word you're going to start hearing. And I could change the face of medicine right now if I could do just 3 labs, maybe twice a year, for like $100. If we were proactive and looked at these labs, if we looked at hemoglobin A1C, which is a longer term blood sugar indicator, if we looked at oxidized LDL for oxidation, and if we looked at CRP, C-reactive protein, for inflammation, if we were looking at those, then I could tell you your mitochondrial health. I could tell you your biological age. I could tell you your likelihood for getting almost all diseases. Almost all the diseases we thought were genetic or random or environmental, they're metabolic diseases. So cancer, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, all these diseases, coronary heart disease, are tied into this insufficient cellular energy state, tied into insulin resistance and metabolic dysfunction. And that's happening when we're not eating right, when we're not moving our bodies enough, when we're not getting enough sunlight, when we're under too much stress, all the things that we're doing wrong that we've changed from the last million years.
Right. So I want to ask you a little bit about some common myths. So, I mean, there's so many products out there, so many companies, so many manufacturers, and I think it's safe to say a lot of it's just flat out garbage or overhyped lies. And there are areas in the supplementation, the nutritional supplement industry that aren't regulated by the FDA, like drugs are, for example. So what are some big myths that you see? What are some red flags that you want to look for before we get into the stuff that works? Because I really want to get into some of your stacks and some of the areas of focus. But what's BS and what isn't right now in your mind, the big lies?
The biggest one, the top one for me, is proprietary blends, also called prop blends. And so what happens there is, in a proprietary blend, you'll see this blend of, let's say it's 20 ingredients or 5 ingredients, whatever it is. And they list the dose for that blend. Say it's 1,000 milligrams of these 20 ingredients. An effective dose for just one of those ingredients could be 500 milligrams, 1,000 milligrams. You're not getting an effective dose of these 20 ingredients. What they're doing, the majority of the time, they have to list these ingredients in descending mass order. So the first ingredient is the most, and then they go down from there. So you could have one ingredient be 999 milligrams. Let's say it's something cheap like creatine or vitamin C. Good ingredients, but cheap. And then you have 19 other ingredients that are all in there at 1 milligram, which in the industry is known as fairy dusting. And then this company doesn't even need to test out those individual levels because they're not listing them in a transparent and honest way, where you list the dose, the form, the part of the plant it comes from, all these things. That's supposed to be what's there, is full transparency, where you can go back and say, okay, this ingredient is in here at this dose, and that is the same dose and form that's in this study. I can go look at it. And certainly 1 milligram for the majority of most ingredients is not enough. So there's a lot of garbage that's out there in the industry. I like to see less ingredients. I like to see full transparency. As a formulator, I would put things in thinking of mechanism of action that are complementary, so that these ingredients actually work together by different pathways, but are complementary, versus a bunch of ingredients that all work for blood sugar. And I just threw them all in there, and you probably heard of some of them. That doesn't make sense. That's not a good method. So that's one of the most key things I would look for. I would certainly look at if there's crazy claims on the bottle, like 880% more something. That's a red flag. That's just not good business practice. And I would also look at some of these new companies, especially on Amazon or, at your drugstore or whatever. If they're brand new companies, they may not be bad, but they may not be great. I like a company that has some legacy and you can look at their track record. And that's where I like to start. And then maybe you can experiment after you've tried something that has a great reputation, that has very simple ingredients, that's fully transparent. Then maybe you can go from there after you've tried the gold standard.
Got it. So the net then is what's missing across the board is a reference point, which would be like, I'm just thinking about an ideal label would be a product that helps with a particular problem. The problem with the supplement industry, you can't make claims, right? So there's challenges there. I know that, and I don't know exactly what you can and cannot do, but the next one is have studies that are generally accepted as being fact with the dosage or the quantity, and know that you've got a high quality product in there, a high quality ingredient, the right amount, and fewer. So there aren't shenanigans going on. Is that kind of a basic summary?
It is. Yeah, that's exactly right. And you can make some claims, but you have to have the ingredient at the correct dose, in the correct form, in the right frequency. And really, if you want to make full-on claims, the FDA actually demands more than that, that you put the product in a study and prove it out. Because even though you can make claims around that ingredient that's in the product, if it's in the right dose, the right form, etc., but you don't know what the impact of the other ingredients are having. So you can't say that product does what that one ingredient does until you've put it through a study.
Right. So it's complicated. It can be expensive. And again, this is why reputation matters so much.
Exactly.
And hopefully having endorsements from people you trust as well. So that gets, it's going to be expensive, and longevity matters. So let's talk a little bit about, I'm going to get to the stacks in a second, but before that, you've been working on the energy formula book, and I'd like you to talk just a little bit about that and what your goal and your outcome was, because I think it ties directly into the stacks and also matching the right ingredients, the right product to solve the correct challenge. And then we'll get into a couple stacks.
Yeah, my whole life has really revolved around not having enough energy, coming out with energy ingredients that I was passionate about because I was searching for energy. And now I'm searching for a life with more vitality and energy. And that's now through self-love and some of the journeys you've seen me on. But that's where my ingredients are now. I'm really obsessed with this anti-aging aspect and mitochondrial energy versus stimulants. So that's a big focus for me. And energy formula is kind of all of my learnings, these hacks, if you will. And it's an acronym for experiment, like biohacking, nutrition. I go over keto and paleo, exercise, things like high intensity interval training and blood flow restriction, and all the hacks I've learned there. Routines, morning and nighttime routines are critical, and circadian rhythm. It's a good reason to wear those glasses that you like so much that filter out blue light. I talk about that in there. Growth, like mindset and fasting, that have been massive for thousands of years, but we've seemed to lost our way on recently. And people are getting very fear-minded, and I'm trying to bring that abundance, resilience, stoicism back. The obstacle's the way. And then your tribe. I mean, now more than ever, we're seeing how important it is to have real connection, and that it's nice to do Zoom, but it's even better to get a hug, to be there in person, and to have that. And we're seeing how much that impacts our immune system, our energy, our flow state, which is something that I cover heavily in there, is that I used to be a hustle and grind type guy. And basically with the nervous system, the autonomic nervous system, that's sympathetic hustle. We all need to hustle, which is the fight or flight, sympathetic nervous system. And instead of the balance of that being parasympathetic, where we have rest and digest, like meditation, gratitude, yoga, things like that, we're saying we need to grind. So that's like ultra sympathetic. It's sympathetic with more sympathetic piled on top. And that is not a healthy mindset to have. What's happening is just like that word grind. I mean, think about the impact of that word. We're grinding, heat is coming off, we're breaking down. And that's what happened to me physically. And it's only until recently that I've realized I need that parasympathetic. I need that chance to relax and have gratitude and decompress, manage stress. And so I talk a lot about resilience in this book and how key that is. And so that's critical to the energy formula. And I'm pretty excited about that. It's coming out February 16th. And I'm working on that right now and can't wait, really. Can't wait to share it.
Yeah, I know you've been working your rear end off, and it's been a source of stress just getting it done and making it just right. Even, recording the audiobook as of now, about a week ago or so, a couple days ago now. Yeah. So let's get into stacks now. So now I'm going to present this the way I want to hear it, but I don't know if you can do it that way. But just imagine, for example, I wanted more energy. Like, what is a smart stack? And I know you talk about this kind of thing in the book. What about my immune system? Yeah. What about if I were a gamer? Matching up the right ingredients for the right function and the right deficiency. Because that's kind of like, some of this is high performance. Some of it is, I don't even know what's broken.
Right.
And then there's longevity. I know for me at 54, not long ago, I started suffering from noticeable anxiety. I lost my courage. I was depressed. Never had been sad before that I know of in my life that I detected. Or I just feel pain in the morning. It's just ordinary pain, which I've always been like happy-go-lucky, get up like that. And then, everything in between. And I don't want to make this about me, but I do want to make it about our viewer, listener, reader. And why don't you go through a couple of stacks that everyone should use, and let's just begin with energy. Energy, weight loss, high performance, mental.
Yeah. So that would go back to that cellular energy for me. Yes, you can use things like caffeine, right? But those have diminishing returns.
Totally. I mean, I know for me, like today as we got prepared, I had, I don't know if I had 1 or 2 cups of a chai, which I'm good with tea. Coffee, can't do it. After noon, I'm screwed. I can't sleep, and I definitely have the jitters, get anxious. And I know for a fact I don't process caffeine well. A lot of it, I'll have physical pain. I'll literally have backaches that accumulate. So I know that I just don't get rid of it properly. My absorption is bad.
Right. And the ingredients that I patented, Teacrine and Dynamine, they have better habituation adaptation effects. So you don't habituate in the same way, meaning you don't feel as addicted to it. And then adaptation, meaning that you don't get the diminishing returns. That's very common with caffeine, where you don't get the positive effects day after day after day. It actually gets to a point where you just need that caffeine to get to baseline. And that's where the physiologic dependence comes in. Then there's people that are fast and slow metabolizers that either clear it so fast they can go right to sleep. Some people, you hear them say that.
Yep.
And then the slow metabolizers are people that get brain fog and feel crappy on it, which I am. And so these ingredients, Teacrine and Dynamine, are in that family with caffeine, but don't have those negative effects. So those are definitely something to look at. But I also like some of the areas that I'm researching, like I said, cellular energy. So things like exogenous ketones, which would be RBHB, the active isomer of BHB, the ketone. I like MCTs, especially C8 MCTs. That's my favorite form. You can throw that in your coffee, like,
Okay,
you know,
and what's a
bulletproof.
C8 for someone, a layman like me, don't even know what it is? What's it in? How do I get it? How much? Just to give me a sense of that.
It's caprylic acid. It's one of the medium chain triglycerides, the MCTs. So normally it's C8 and C10, an 8 carbon and a 10 carbon fatty acid. But in this case, you just isolated the C8, the one that raises ketones better. And that, like, you know, bulletproof is popularized, brain octane. That's a C8 oil. So that's one of my favorites. And I like taking a look at those things that are getting in the way of your cellular energy as well. Some of the side effects that I was talking about, the glycation, inflammation, oxidation. So I'm a big fan as far as inflammation. I look at CBD. I look at an optimized curcumin that has high bioavailability. For glycation, my favorite ingredient is berberine, or even better is the new form that I've patented that has about 3 times the bioavailability. Sorry, 5 times. And that's dihydroberberine. That's the active metabolite that your body needs to convert.
And can I get that in a product right now, or is that coming out?
Yeah, it's called Glucovantage is the brand name for it. And several products have it already. And then for oxidation, these ingredients, yes, there's antioxidants that are just very straightforward. But to me, the greatest ingredients on the longevity front is this group called polyphenols. And they're in a lot of foods. Things like, you probably heard of resveratrol, quercetin, pterostilbene. Like, these ingredients are amazing, not only for antioxidant properties, but anti-aging, for improved blood flow, especially in the brain, which can enhance blood flow in the brain, can increase a protein called BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which makes your brain more neuroplastic, meaning you can learn new things. You're not as, you know, resistant to learning new tasks. You're better at taking on new skills. So these ingredients are absolutely amazing. And those are probably like some of my top ones that I would recommend for both anti-aging and energy.
Okay. So let's do a specialist compound. So I'm going to give you an option here because we didn't prepare this ahead of time. You could choose muscle, maybe a gamer stack, maybe an entrepreneur stack. Okay. Maybe it would be, we could do a sex stack. There could be an intimacy stack, meaning feelings, a heart stack or something like that. Again, I'm just making this up on the fly, but I want you to pick one. And I know, and while you're thinking about the response, I know one of the things that you're giving away as a result of this interview is you put together a giveaway on your website, which is a list of some stacks and some of the specific compounds. And it's a preview to your book. And that way they can learn more about your book and also get this great chart in this this document that you put together as a gift too. That's at shawnwells.com. But are you ready to give us an example? Okay, here we go. Pick anything.
And I have a lot of those stacks covered in my book with the doses, with the forms, with the brands I recommend, all that. And you can sign up for that, and I will have a giveaway as well. I would say the most important stack to probably talk about, besides the one I just mentioned with energy and longevity that I feel like everyone needs. The other one right now that everyone needs, whether you have autoimmune issues like me, or you're dealing with resilience issues, which is what it sounded like you were dealing with, like very hustle and grind, right?
Yeah, some of
we were grinding our way through COVID. You know, whether we were dealing with the actual virus or not, there's the stress of COVID. There's the stress of that new reality that was wearing on us. And so that was taking a hit on our immune system. Our immune system drops by 50% just through fear. And the media is peddling fear because that's clickbait, and that keeps us dopamine connected, right? So I think going through resilience stacks right now, immune stacks, is really important. And you probably heard vitamin D3 tops the list. It's more than a vitamin. It's a hormone and has an impact throughout your body. It's incredibly impactful, especially when it comes to the immune system. And we're seeing that people are almost, I won't say fully, but almost COVID proof that are have ample levels of vitamin D. And people that have deficient levels of vitamin D, the reverse is true. They're really at risk. That's one of the, I mean, even ahead of diabetes, obesity, stress, all these other things that they've listed, respiratory disease. Vitamin D is pivotal in that. And it also helps with mood, with diabetes risk, with so many things. Getting ample vitamin D is critical. And getting that D3 form is what I like. Also, taking it with a fatty meal helps its absorption. Beyond that, zinc. If you need a boost, I wouldn't stay on high levels of zinc. I would just get, what you need from a multivitamin typically. But if you're feeling low, if you're feeling burnout, if you're feeling like your immune system is crashing, then taking some extra zinc for a couple weeks, especially high bioavailability form like zinc citrate, would be great. On top of that, I would also take vitamin C. This is the classic, right? You can probably think back to Linus Pauling in the 80s, and people went from thinking of vitamin C's preventing scurvy to taking grams of vitamin C a day because of its impact on us. And we have seen that it does have a pretty radical impact on these viruses, on the flu, on COVID. And particularly, if it's possible for you to do this, you can do IV vitamin C in high levels, like 5 up to 50 grams.
That's my favorite way of getting it for sure. Yeah.
But if you can't do that, I recommend getting a liposomal vitamin C. You can take higher doses and not have the GI distress. And it's very potent, again, at protecting you. And it works differently than most antioxidants.
And what is, just for the record, liposomal? Because when we sat down here, I showed you a B complex that I'm taking as liposomal. I also have a glutathione, and I've noticed like almost instantaneous results with that B complex. Like I'm telling you, in minutes, instant energy. I feel significantly better. And I've never had that result with no stomach distress. And I'm really sensitive. Like if I take supplements and I haven't had a meal, I'm in trouble.
Yeah.
And that's a big deal. So what does that mean, and what's going on inside the body so people can look for those?
It's like a fatty bubble, essentially. It's also called with plants a phytosome. You might hear micelle, which is a similar concept. But the liposome is this bubble that surrounds that compound and helps it get absorbed better and is protected more in the process of digestion. So you're increasing the bioavailability, the deliverability, the usability of that ingredient. So that's where it can be impactful. It doesn't necessarily work for all ingredients. It doesn't improve all ingredients to a radical degree, but definitely ingredients that have poor bioavailability, it helps. So that's something to look at with vitamin C, is that it's going to allow you to take these multiple gram dosages without getting that GI distress and to really protect your immune system.
And I might add, without disaster pants as well, because that's a natural byproduct of mixing those two, like magnesium and C. And all right.
Exactly. And then another big one, you bring up magnesium, that's a massive one just for complete body health. It's involved in about 300 different processes in the body. You might know regularity, muscle strength, bone health, immune system. It just goes on and on. It's literally one of the most important
cramps. That's
minerals.
One thing I notice is foot cramps at night is in particular. And mag definitely helps with that. So that's good.
So one of my top forms of that is magnesium glycinate. So you can get like magnesium citrate. Those are some more bioavailable forms. And then lastly, I would mention the mushroom category is amazing for immunity. We're just finding out more and more and more about mushrooms. There's several compounds in there, beta glucans. There's a compound called AHCC that's been studied with cancer and immunity with incredible results. There's the polysaccharides that are present in there. There's an ingredient that I've been working on called ergothioneine. That's a trace amino acid that's present in the mushrooms that has an incredible impact on the immune system and actually protects the mitochondria. It goes to work right on those mitochondria. And there's very few things that are soldiers to protect the mitochondria like this ingredient. And so, yeah, I'm a big fan of mushrooms, and we're just finding out more about reishi and shiitake and lion's mane, and all these ingredients are really powerful. We're seeing time and time and time again with the immune system. So those would probably be my top stack for having more resilience, more powerful immune system, being more COVID proof.
Great. And one of the things that I know you've done in the giveaway that's available on your website is you've listed this and diagrammed it, and you've also gotten very detailed step-by-step in your book as well. So
Yes.
for anyone watching this, listening to it right now, and they're like trying to take notes and make sense out of all the details, you've got a recipe and a step-by-step, and you've got links to the actual products that have it in them.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I have one more question for you, and you're involved with a manufacturer. That's part of the relationship. So why don't you talk a little bit about your partner and that industry and what makes you different as well, so people really understand that not only are you a formulator and an ingredientologist, and you've really dedicated the majority of your life to helping yourself be healthier and helping other people who've dealt with the crazy things that you've had to deal with and a lot more. But you've got a big vision and a mission to change the world. And part of that's with the relationship you have with your manufacturer. I don't know how much you want to reveal, but I'd love it if you told us just a little bit about that.
He's an incredible guy, Kai-Lin Lau. He owns this company called NNB Nutrition, and they are based in Nanjing, China, but have global operations, work with Brazil, Germany, the United States, Australia, really countries all over the world. It's truly a global company with over 100 scientists, just finished a 400,000 square foot GMP facility. And one of the things they're working on is something called Ingredientology that I worked on with them, is that we will help you. If you come to us with the idea, we'll help you bring it to life and co-patent it with you. So you're no longer limited by not having the scientists, by not having access to liposomes and different technologies, by not having the ability to source these ingredients, by not having the trademarking, patenting, and study design, and the money really to put behind it all. And so that whole process, typically around $500, $700, $1 million. And then you might also have 2 to 2.5 years for an ingredient to make it all the way out. So there's a lot of steps in this. If you really want to make it GRAS and, toxicology work and studies and be fully verified, then you have to take all these steps. And that's what we will do with you. And then, of course, NNB has a lot of amazing ingredients that I've helped them bring out, like ergothioneine, like dihydroberberine, like these ketones, like C8-MCTs, like I've mentioned. These are ingredients that I believe in, and therefore Kai-Lin believes in. And these are the ingredients I literally use every day. So I'm not just throwing out ingredients to try and get sales. These are the ingredients that I use, that I'm passionate about, that I've changed my life with.
Great. And part of the reason I wanted you to talk about it, and I'm going to say something for you because you're a super humble guy, is you've got a partner, a company with the resources, the reach, the distribution, the science, the highest quality ingredients in the world. You've got teams of scientists. You do testing. You can verify and guarantee the highest quality ingredients and really at some of the best prices in the world. And you're able to bring products to market for significantly less, significantly faster, protect the intellectual property, be able to license properly so you don't get in trouble, and do it with people who are ethical and really interested in helping people, who put human life and the quality of life and health first. Is that fair to say now that I said that for you?
Yeah, 1,000%, especially about changing lives. That's what my goal is in life. I have come back from death's door 3 times where I've literally thought about killing myself 3 times. And I've dealt with so many health issues and so many mental health issues that I'm here to fulfill my mission to impact lives. And this is how I can do it. Is all that time that I was trying to fix myself and work on myself. Now I have the knowledge that I want to give back. And that is my goal, to have ingredients that are truly impacting the health of others. I'm not putting out ingredients out there that are just marketing crap. This is real impactful science. Otherwise, I'm not doing it.
Very good. So besides sending everyone over to ShawnWells.com for the downloads, the goodies, to learn more about your book, even I know you're giving away a free chapter or 2. Is there any other ask that you have for our audience who's watching and listening to this today?
I'd love for them to follow me on social media at Ingredientologist. That would be great. I'm a scientist of ingredients, Ingredientologist. And that's the biggest thing. And just to share this message and share the idea of being more resilient and having more energy. You don't have to go it alone. You don't have to be tired. You don't have to be sick. I'm here to help.
Great. And this is also for folks, so you can go to ShawnWells.com to get the freebies. There's also a button for work with Shawn as an ingredientologist and partner up if you've got a big idea. There's, of course, some basic criteria that you've got to get by as you're serious and you've got the financial resources to get things rolling along. But I want to thank you. This has been super fun to spend time with you and get to know you and your wife as well in this process. So thank you.
Thank you for having me on. Thank you so much.
You got it.